Managed a course from the other side of the United States. Teacher, poet, currently teaching in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Whose book, Not So Simple, has recently hit 1,000 copies sold.
Awesome.
And who's done an amazing job supporting local social services here in the county. Little second round of applause here for the man of the hour, Mr. Brian Gillette.
Thank you. Wow, what a journey. It's good to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I know about 90% of this room. So I know this is about the 6th or 7th reading that I've done, but thanks, for real, from the bottom of my heart. It is great to see familiar faces. It was not that hard to coerce me. BG, what's up? It was not that hard to coerce me to come out because this is like my second home. And while I was out here, I learned a lot about myself, which is why I call it a journey, but I learned a lot about Ventura County, and I'm humbled to be back here in Ventura County, reading about Ventura County, and trying to just share what I saw and also what all of you have seen, not only recently, but what we've seen probably over the last 6 to 7 years. I want to thank Justin, and I want to thank Anita for asking me to come out here tonight because the role of the public library is important. If a public library is not talking about issues that matter, then nobody else is. And if it's not the public library doing that, it's us as teachers, which is why it's so great to see some of my colleagues here from Villanova. If we aren't talking about these issues, nobody will, and that means nothing will get changed. And if nothing gets changed, we're going to keep going by the same status quo. I'm not saying tonight's reading is going to shake things up, but I hope after tonight that we feel more renewed. I feel like we have more energy and we go out and we tackle whatever issue it is that you are passionate about, because this is one that's been close to my heart. I'm now talking a lot and writing a lot about education because I feel like education plays a big role in this. Hello, what's up? Man, this place is gonna fill up, baby. I came in, there was no one here, and now we have almost a full capacity. Beautiful. Please feel free to ask questions, shout out. The book, I wouldn't call it depressing. I like to think it's hopeful, but it is very real and honest. So, you know, when I finish a piece, I'll probably step back. Don't applause, whatever. And just feel comfortable and let's make this a dialogue rather than me just talking to you. I'm gonna just start off. I need a time check though. Oh, the clock's behind me. All right. I'm gonna try and make sure that we did this in an hour or just under. So I'm gonna start with this piece called Persistence. It's the first piece in the poem, and I think it just hits on our need to be persistent here out in California. Driving down Main Street, I see a man my age sorting through trash cans, collecting currency. Early morning, even the sun isn't awake. A few hours later, a lady in her 60s sifts through rubbish, revealing her social status. These situations aren't specific to Ventura County, nor are they only California's conundrum. Homelessness and poverty are seen in major cities across the country. How can we help the homeless? I'm so happy you asked. So I use that one to start because it's a tough question. How can we help the homeless? And I had an interesting Uber ride here. My friend makes fun of me a lot because I talk to all my Uber drivers. It's a chance to get interesting and unique conversation. And he's a gentleman that lives in Ventura, and he was a little upset about the homeless situation. And as I came and I was talking to Justin, this is an issue where you're on one side or the other. Do we help or get them out of here? And it's such a sharp divide that people don't seem to have conversations on this. So when we were talking in the car, he seemed to be more pro a lot of drug use, get them out of here. And I think when we think about how do we help the homeless, we have to figure out how do we manage this issue. How do we can't solve this issue. This is not something that we're gonna say, here's a plan and we're gonna solve it, but it's more about managing. And that's what I hope tonight can get us to think about is how do we manage this issue? How do we treat people with compassion? How do we create communities that we're proud of? And what do we do with the people that have been marginalized? So I'm going to read the second piece, and the second piece is called Light Years. The next few pieces, I'm trying to make them more realistic and relatable to things that we have all probably experienced. I know in Philadelphia, you go to every street corner almost, and someone's asking for change. Same thing out here in California. They look different between who's unsheltered in California and who's called light years. Sometimes I speed through lights, not wanting to get stuck at street corners. Look left, look right, despair is out tonight. With nothing to give, I feel helpless, even though I'm not the one who's homeless. The light is still red, and avoiding his eyes is the only thing on my mind. Finally, I push past my discomfort, flash a peace sign, packaged with a solemn nod. Green means go. Driving away, the man is out of sight, but in Southern California, never out of mind. Next corner, new person, same idea. Anything helps. Thank you. God bless. So I just had an interesting interaction 2 days ago. I was picking a friend up in Center City, Philadelphia, and we were going to an Anderson .Paak concert. And as I'm waiting for them to come down, a man walks by my car, and he asked me, "Hey, how you doing? You got anything for me?" So I look at my change drawer. I get usually a quarter or two, and I hand it to him and ask him, how's it going? And he tells me it's not too bad. And the next thing he asks me, "How's your car running?" My check engine light had just came on. So I share this with him. I go, just like the other day, my check engine light came on. He goes, "That's why I don't have a car." And it was just this small little interaction. And after that, he just kind of kept walking. But this idea of giving people dignity. And at that point at the stoplight, I had nothing to give this man when I was, and that was, this poem, by the way, Light Years, was when I was on Thompson, at the intersection of Thompson and California, right downtown Ventura. I had nothing to give him, and I wondered, what do I do? Do I just pretend that he's not there? Or do I just acknowledge him as a human being? And I really think that's at the crux of this issue. Do we acknowledge someone as a human being, or do we pretend that they're invisible and that we don't see them? Helping does not always have to be cash. Helping does not always have to be food. Helping can just be, I see you as a person, hey, that's all, and you keep on walking. But when we start to ostracize people based off of income, it gets awkward, but it also dehumanizes them, and it makes us, I feel, a little bit less human. So this actually the next one's Soul Survival. Shout out to, where's my Ventura residents? Who's a Ventura resident right here? By show of hands. 1, 2, a little bit. So I used to live in Ventura, and I would shoot down San Home. And right by the beach, I would see the same guy all the time. And I'd always wonder how this guy is getting by. So this next one is about him, and it's about depression. It's about resiliency. As someone who at times has gone through depression, I've always wondered as I was writing this, how do people get through day by day? How do they have the willpower to stay alive? Would they take their life? How do they constantly being turned down and feeling the elements of every day? How do they keep going? And then this one kind of tried to put myself in that position. So this one is called Soul Survival. His sign screamed hungry. I had pizza for later, but later for me was present for him. Tough luck today? You could say that, he muttered. Pizza? A small nod led to a toss of my tin-foiled slices of pepperoni pie. A faint thanks escaped his lips. He looked battered and bruised. I'd seen him countless times. Same red hat, same sad state. The streets can do that to a man. The mentality it must take to survive. Convince your body not to give in to hunger, to demons, to death. How would you keep your soul alive outside? So I think about that a lot still. So I'm a teacher in North Philadelphia. Shout out to North Philadelphia. I don't know if anybody's watching from North Philadelphia. I'm live streaming this thing to the East Coast. I please tell my kids, I'm like, yo, watch it. I'll give you extra credit. Don't really care. Just don't blow up my comment section. And I'm really crossing my fingers that's the case. But I work at a school in North Philadelphia. For anyone that's not, by the way, has anyone been to Philadelphia? By a show of hands, word. That's like 40% of this room. That was a little higher than I thought. Philadelphia is the 5th biggest city in the country, but it also has the highest rate of poverty. So Philadelphia's poverty rate hovers at 26%, which is a lot larger than other major cities. And as we're seeing Baltimore, Chicago, and Detroit's poverty rate decrease, Philadelphia's is staying still. It's staying at 26%. So as I'm asking these new teachers, because I'm in this process of, we're hiring new teachers at the school that I work at, I asked them, how are you going to keep your soul alive? Like during the course of the year, how do you stay mentally, physically, and spiritually sharp? And that kind of goes back to that idea, even as us as individuals, depression, it runs all over the place. And ironically enough, the places that are pumping out all this technology, like Seattle, like San Francisco, with all this high-powered tech that's making kids and us as adults more isolated and more depressed, they're also the same areas that are seeing the highest rate of poverty and the biggest contrast between the rich and the poor. So as we move forward, I'm really kind of concerned with how do we find that balance? Like how do we make sure we prioritize mental health? And that's something that we'll talk about a little bit later. But how do some of these cities cope with the fact that the devices that they're using are making people feel more sad, but then also contributing to this economic inequality? So that was kind of the piece on that. This one's gonna called Internally Compassionate. Shout out, I have a couple former students here. I have some more that snuck in the back. Shout out to all my former students. So my former headmaster Carol Hoffer is here. I got former colleagues and students. I was asked to come to California as a dorm staff out of nowhere. So I took a flight in 9 days. I remember I got home, my mom was crying like, oh my God, you're going to California, please come back. And I hadn't even left yet. So I stayed out here for 6 years, and my second year though, Carol had hired me, Miss Hoffer, to teach this new course called Communication and Speech. Julie was the English department chair at the time, and I just started a graduate school program with the homies that are all here, Brian Grierson and Elise, and it was great. So I was going to school full time, I was teaching full time, there was no curriculum. The curriculum was, we wanted to work on reading skills, we wanted to work on writing skills, but I had this flexibility and freedom to make it truly a class that will help people become, or help young adults become productive members of society, but I really wanted to focus on the social emotions. So we did a lot of work with the homeless. I found that by getting my kids to do care packages, we did Socktober. Quickly, someone in the back, tell me what Socktober is. Peter, I'm gonna put you on the spot, man.
You collect enough socks to put them on less economically fortunate people's feet in the winter months.
That's a lot of jargon. Peter, appreciate you. We collect a lot of socks. We collected a lot of toiletries, socks, shampoo, blankets, hoodies, whatever. And it was basically getting shelters, supplies they needed before the winter would hit. And it was a great way. We would try to, we'd raise the bar every week, how many socks we bring in. But it was really my way of getting students to start to see that if we have this position of privilege, what do we do with it? And how should we act to the people that don't necessarily have this? So we did a lot of active steps in the community to try to make a difference. And this one actually was a poem after I took 5 girls out after school, and we did a run through downtown Ventura with care packages, with some food, and we were trying to help. And I'll just shut up and read the poem. So this one's called Internally Compassionate. Five female students showed up to help the homeless, which emphasized their proactiveness produced by empathy. We rolled around downtown, looking for anyone in need. A few people looked like they could use it, but if you don't ask, it's hard to help. It's funny how when you want to assist, seek to make a difference, there's nothing there. Help doesn't work on a schedule. It's not convenient. It's just there whether you're ready or not. So don't be distraught, girls. The time will arise when your community needs your energy and compassion to create change. But remember that it's never about you or me. It's about helping the whole, where we all play our unique part in piecing the puzzle together. I always had a hard time with that because you want to, sometimes like, again, you have all this food, like I'd pack a backpack up, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go out and I'll write, and I'll put some stuff in there and I'll bop around downtown, and I had no one to pass it out to. I had no one that's literally asking for help. People look like they might need it, but my neighbor once, he said, hey Brian, I had all this food and I went down to Plaza Park, and I went up to this guy and I tried to give it to him, and he was so offended that I tried to feed him, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but I was like, yeah man, because you went up to someone that wasn't asking for help, and you thought they were homeless. They might have well been homeless, but that's very demoralizing to someone's ego when you just approach them. They look like they're in that much need of help that you just go up to them and ask them if they would like this random loaf of bread. He was trying though. And then other times when we're walking around, we have nothing to give, and we see people that really need the help. So when we had that day, it was a lesson not only for the girls but for me. Help it's just there. And again, it goes back to light years. Sometimes we don't have anything to give, and we just say hello. We just treat somebody like a human being, because help can look like a lot of different things.